Joining us on the Mercedes-Benz Vans phone line is one of the best to lace them up at the position of linebacker on arguably the best defense in the National Football League after they beat the Miami Dolphins and that high-flying offense at home yesterday. The NFC West leading San Francisco 49ers Pro Bowl linebacker Fred Warner here on the Mercedes-Benz Vans phone line. How you doing, Fred?
Yeah, doing great, Rich. Great. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for doing this. Obviously, there's so much happening with your team. First in, first up for you is what do you say to the fan base that is particularly nervous about starting a kid who is so-called Mr. Irrelevant in the draft in Brock Purdy? What do you say to the fans who might be nervous about your Super Bowl chances being on the line with him, Fred?
Yeah, I mean, yesterday I was asked a couple questions about him, and I've seen like the quote of me saying that he's practiced against the best defense in the league the last whatever amount of weeks. And I wholeheartely believe that. I think obviously it is just practice. Games, especially this time of the year, and practice are a lot different. But I've been the biggest. So I feel like I have a good eye for guys who are really good football players. Who have the it, and it's hard to say like what the it factor is, but I think he has it. I've seen the way he goes about his work, the way he prepares, and I have full confidence in Brock Purdy. I think he's going to do a great job.
So, what have you seen in practice that you saw in the game and go, okay, so I saw that in practice against us, and now he could do it against the Miami Dolphins? You got a for instance on that, Fred?
Well, yesterday, in the midst of battle, like in the midst, so I'm focused on what we got going on defensively that it's hard for me to keep track of what's going on that side of the ball. I'm like either looking at an iPad or talking to the coaches, so I didn't get to watch a whole lot of them. He did make some huge third down throws with pressure in his face. I saw, which is big time on his end. But in practice, just the savvy for a rookie has been really cool to see. Him doing the no look passes that you see like Patrick Mahomes and these guys doing, Matt Stafford, like he's doing those type of things. And I'm like, how are you doing that as a rookie? That's the type of stuff that he does. So, I think as he goes, he's going to continue to get more comfortable and more confident with, game planning every week. And so he'll be just fine.
Well, and I know clearly you're an all-pro linebacker, Fred, and, a lead pipe wielding professional when it comes to that. So you know what pressure feels like, and obviously you want to be the best, not only your position, but the leader of a unit that is considered the best in the NFL, as you pointed out. But I would imagine this does place more of the responsibility of getting past the winning finish line on your side of the football. Fred, would you agree with that?
Well, I mean, I feel like internally, like for on our side of the ball, like we already hold a lot of we take a lot of pride in making sure that we hold the teams to as few amount of points as possible to try to help the team win games. Like just because we have a new quarterback in, that doesn't change our standard. That doesn't change the way we play Niner football on our side of the ball. I think as long as we keep doing what we're doing, then we're going to be just fine. Like it's not something that we have to go out of our way to do something completely different. The recipe for us winning games as a team has been to protect the football, to play penalty-free football, and continuing to play at the standard that has been developed here. So I think as long as we continue to do that, then we'll get the result that we want.
And I know I'm asking you a question that I already know the answer to, but I'll ask it anyway. You think you can win a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy at quarterback, Fred Warner?
Yes, I do, for sure.
Fred Warner, the San Francisco 49ers here on the Rich Eisen Show. Where do the Dolphins rank in terms of offenses you've defensed this year, Fred?
Probably number one. They were the number one explosive offense in the league, and then you head out there for the first snap of the game, and they torch you for a 75, 80-yard explosive, for a touchdown on the first play of the game. I remember coming off the sideline, and I almost had like a smile on my face. I'm laughing. I'm like, man, what are the odds? Like, of course, all we've heard about all week is how explosive the offense is, and they go out and they score a touchdown like that on the first play. So I kind of laughed to myself. We looked at the play and saw, the breakdown in coverage, and we're able to correct it. In those type of moments that early in the game, you realize that there's so much football left to play in the game that you're not gonna start to melt down after one the first play of the game, So we looked at it for what it was and corrected it, and then we're able to move on from it.
And then obviously we've been talking all year long in the paparazzi about Mike McDaniel and what he's brought from San Francisco, and not just Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson, but the scheme itself. When you were preparing for this team and playing against it, did a lot of it feel like your own team that you were going against?
Yes, most definitely. Because obviously Mike was a huge part of what we did offensively when he was here. He brought in guys that were familiar with the system. They have their own fullback that they use in all types of ways in the backfield, and all the different personnel sets and all the jet motions to try to get your eyes moving in different directions. So, it was very similar to playing against our offense, and Tua's been playing at such a high level in the way that he's been delivering the football. So we knew that we had to make sure that we were on top of it.
Fred Warner here on the Rich Eisen Show. And then let's just, if you don't mind, dive a little bit more into the X's and O's. How much of the week of preparation was on knowing McDaniel from, obviously, when he was maybe walking the halls there, down from the defensive room, but obviously in the offensive side? How much of it was like anticipating what he might know about you and your countering? Can you take us inside the preparation going against an opponent coached by someone that knows you and you know yourself?
Yeah, I think that's probably a better question to be asking, like the defense coordinator and the assistant coaches in terms of how they, game plan for the week. I know because of the familiarity there, we wanted to show him different looks, or we wanted to kind of, keep him off tilt throughout the game. And so there were a couple of different nuances that we had to implement. But for the most part, it was just honestly running our stuff and being on top of it. We knew that they loved to attack the middle of the field. So as the game went on, we had to make sure that we kept our depth, especially at the second level, because his strength is getting that ball right over the second level in those windows, right over the middle. So our mentality in the entire game was pass first, run second. If they were gonna run the ball, we were gonna come down late and stop them. That wasn't our priority. Our priority was keeping everything in front of us.
And obviously, you did your former defensive coordinator Robert Saleh a favor beating the Dolphins too, Fred. You did him a solid by taking care of that.
Yeah.
Would you pound the table for D'Amico Ryans, your current DC? Tell me about him. What I should know.
Oh man, I feel like I talk about him every week. At this point, there's not much else left to say. We're ranked first in almost every defense category, and he's done this for back-to-back years of having a top 5 defense. And I think the thing that if I had to sell him as a head coach to a team, the number one thing that you want at that at that position is a leader of men. And I think he's a complete leader of men in the way that he's able to stand in front of us and just speak to us on a week-to-week basis and keep us motivated, keep us into it, and developing a game plan every week that allows us to play free, to play fast, and not have any gray area. We know exactly what needs to get done and the style of play that we play with every week. Not everybody can do that, and I think that all starts with him, and he's fantastic.
Before I let you go, Fred Warner, have you spoken to Jimmy Garoppolo since yesterday?
No, not yet. I know he's not the quickest to respond to texts.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean, Fred?
Right. I know it's probably the first that people have heard of this, but no, my heart goes out to Jim, man. That's my guy. I love him to death, and him being the quarterback of the offense, me being the quarterback of the defense, we have little conversations every week, just to keep the team and where it needs to be. And he's such a great leader for us, like the way that he prepares, and you talk about just a guy, and that's Jim. So it's gonna hurt losing him, but my heart goes out to him, and we'll be talking soon.
Yeah, he must be gutted, Fred. You know what I mean? Like, what a year for him too. For the way everything worked out last year, and then it seemed like the whole story. I don't need to run through it with Lance and him, and the fact that you were, and you are in position to win the Super Bowl. You just got to gut him, and then I know it's a next man up mentality too, and I guess I'll circle back one last time. Every 49er fan I know is like, okay, I believe in the system, I believe in this team, but I don't know this kid, and he had to have been drafted last for a reason. I'm serious. I'm being honest with what's being said, and I am talking to somebody who's in the room and has so much to do with why the Niners are in position to win. In you, Fred. So I just will give you the floor one last time on your thoughts on winning a Super Bowl this year. Right now.
Look, I mean, it's something that throughout the entire season, it's always a work in progress, and there's so many ups and downs throughout the season, and we are in the midst of the biggest storm that you could possibly go through, losing your starting quarterback. We've lost our starting quarterback twice this season, right? And, I think in my mind, I always say never say never. I think it's such an unlikely story to have mystery relevant come in, lead the Niners to a Super Bowl, right? And I think that's what everybody's going to write us off on, and that's fine. If that's what everybody wants the narrative to be, I'm completely fine with that. I'm so completely laser focused on it, just like I know the team is, on just taking this thing 1 week at a time. Our goal ultimately is the Super Bowl. You're absolutely right that we want to win that Super Bowl so badly, but we understand that this league is all about taking things 1 week at a time, and that's what we've been doing. That's why we won 5 straight. Is not because we're like, oh, we have the Dolphins in a couple weeks, or we're going to be playing Tom Brady in it's just taking one step at a time. And that's how we're going to continue to take this thing. And then we'll see what happens when we look up at the end of this thing. But, it's going to be fun.
Fred, thanks for the time. I really love chatting with you and greatly appreciate it day after a big win and with so much going on with your team, just giving us the scoop. And good luck to you. Have a great holiday season if we don't connect before.
You got it, Rich. I appreciate you.
Right back at you. At Fred_Warner on Twitter. Follow him. Check him out. And obviously check out the 49ers as they move on. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.